Hey everyone, today I want to share with you my secret to speeding up the process of decluttering. I think sometimes a huge barrier to decluttering can be how long it takes, how much effort it is. And so I want to share an approach to make decluttering go way faster. Because believe me, when I started out on my journey towards minimalism, sometimes those declutters, even of a simple closet, took me hours and hours and hours, and it took me so long. It seemed like this slow, arduous process. But I've changed my approach and I've made it way more streamlined and efficient in a way that works way better for me. And I think there's a really key element or secret to that, and I'm going to share it today. So when I thought about how to solve this problem, I thought, well, what causes decluttering to take so long in the first place? And what I realized was that it had to do with the time it took to make the decisions. That deliberation period is what made it so difficult for me. The weighing out of options, the debating back and forth of whether to keep something or not, makes decluttering longer. And it also increases the emotional burden on a person, which just makes it take more energy. And so I realized if I can reduce the deliberation period and streamline that, I might actually really decrease the amount of time decluttering takes, as well as decrease the overall mental burden that it puts on me. So my sort of secret to decluttering way faster comes down to the preparation piece. And I really think it truly boils down to the mindset that you have going into the declutter. Because I think, at least for me, this might not apply to everybody because everybody's different, but when I started my decluttering journey, I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, I wasn't sure, is this worth it to me? Will I miss some of the things that I let go of? Will I regret trying to pursue minimalism and then I'll have to buy a bunch of new stuff? Will this be an actual financial mistake I make? Will it be an emotional mistake I make? Will I miss emotionally the items that I let go of? And so I had this little bit of ambivalence. I mean, I was excited about it, but there was part of me that, if I'm honest with myself, wasn't 100% bought in. And so I really think that taking the time before you even get into the physical act of decluttering and thinking about why is it that I actually want to pursue minimalism and how will it affect my life can actually enhance and speed up the process of decluttering. I have to say, I've decluttered a lot of stuff at this point, and I was worried that I would have a lot of major regrets, that I would have to buy a lot of things that I had let go of, and that I would end up losing more money because of minimalism potentially. But the reality is, as I've whittled down my belongings, my whole life has become easier. And I'm not saying my life is easy now, but I have more time to spend on things that I really care about. I'm working longer hours at work than I used to, but in a good way, not in an annoying way, in a way where I actually have more of the evening to spend on work because I don't have quite as much stuff to do around the house. Our house also doesn't get as messy as it used to. Now, of course, it gets untidy sometimes. Sometimes it even gets messy, but the amount of mess is just less. And so it's less overwhelming, it's more approachable, and it's like I can clean up the space in, 10 minutes or so rather than it taking 2 hours because there's so much stuff to clean. And then, like I said, it's opened up my time, so I have more time to focus on things I need to get done, being more on top of just like adult life paperwork stuff going on. It's allowed me to take more breaks, to spend more time with my husband, have more movie nights, more date nights. I think it's just made life easier, and it's allowed me to focus more on things that I care about. And I think minimalism, because for me, it's not just about minimizing stuff. At its core, it's about clarifying my values and pursuing those things that I really care about. It's kind of forced me to reckon with my life and to really look at it and say, how do I want to be spending my time? Who do I want to be spending it with? I think about, as of right now, Andy and I aren't immediately planning to have kids, but at some point in the future, I think that's likely going to be in the cards for us. And so I just think about, how do I want to spend my time once I have kids? I get the sense parenting is a lot of work. and that often you end up accumulating even more stuff once you have kids and more stuff to manage. And so if we already have so much stuff that it's difficult to manage, how am I going to take on that new role when that time comes? And also I think about down the road, eventually, if we do have kids, what kind of an example do I want to set? What kind of a home do I want to create for our family? And I just think that filling our time with spending time together and doing fun activities and creating learning experiences and doing new things all the time that develop growth and learning, I think is so much more important than just having more stuff. And so I think taking on this mindset, taking the time to think about, why do I want to pursue minimalism? Why is that important to me? And how has it actually affected my life in the decluttering I've done thus far? I think gives me that mindset shift so that when I'm ready in the moment to start that declutter, and I'm in that second where I'm deciding, should I keep this item or not? I'm able to kind of hearken back to that mindset and say, I don't need this. I can let it go. And I think part of my point about why this speeds up the decluttering process is actually the act of putting stuff in boxes and bringing them to a donation center or getting rid of them in some way. It doesn't actually take that much time. It's time consuming, but it takes less time than we think. I think what actually slows us down are those moments and minutes we spend debating and deliberating. Should I keep this? Should I not? But if you can cut down on that deliberation time and jump straight to a decision, it's just going to go way more quickly. I also think part of this is once you've made a decision to declutter something, don't go back on it. Because something I also used to do in decluttering that would also increase how long it took me to declutter was that I'd waffle a bunch. I would put something in the declutter pile and then I'd come back to it 10 minutes later and think, am I sure about that? Might I have a purpose for it at some point in the future? And then I'd put it in the maybe pile, and then I'd put it in the keep pile, and then I'd remind myself, no, I don't need it, and I put it in the declutter pile. My point is, if you can decide, I'm going to take this mindset on, once I decide to declutter something, I'm going to keep it in the declutter pile, I think it'll just streamline that entire process if that's something that happens to you. I think part of this is accepting that regret may happen in the decluttering process. It's possible that you will find yourself in a position where you remember you decluttered something and you could have used it, or you kind of miss it because maybe there's some sentimental value wrapped up in it. But then the question becomes, is it worth the risk of that occasional regret, of that occasional wish I had something, for the overall goal of moving towards minimalism, of minimizing my stuff so that I can focus my life more on what I care about? And I definitely just think that clarifying why you're doing it, really entering that mindset of I'm in a decluttering zone, I'm going to be a decluttering person today, I think can make the whole process just go faster and faster. Just pick up the item, decide which pile is it going in, the keep, the maybe, or the declutter. If it goes into the maybe, one rule I either have is either I put it in quarantine bin, so I put it away in storage for a period of time, and then I decide to donate it once I realize I never even reached for those items. Or another rule of thumb I'll go with is maybe at the end of the declutter, I can keep one item from the maybe pile, or I can keep 10% from the maybe pile. But having a structured system, just going through quickly, cutting out that deliberation time can really expedite the whole decluttering process. I truly think it's kind of when you put a helmet on or you put a uniform of some kind on for some kind of job you have to get done. If you can kind of put on your decluttering cap, that mindset when you start decluttering and say, I am going to conquer this, I'm going to have the right decluttering mindset, and I'm going to go in remembering why I'm doing this, it'll make the whole process so much more streamlined. So I know it's a simple answer to how to make decluttering faster, but I truly believe that if you can play a little psychology on yourself, take the mindset, take control, and forget those permission-giving thoughts or those thoughts that are encouraging you to keep things and focus on the goal, it's going to make the whole decluttering process go way more quickly. And then as you declutter, as you hone that decluttering skill, it's also going to go faster and faster. Let me know in the comments if any of you have ideas about how to make the decluttering process faster. If you want to watch more videos on simple living, minimalism, living more intentionally, and building an empowering mindset, then hit the subscribe button below. And if you end up liking this video, hit the thumbs up button. You can also hit the bell alert button to be notified when new videos come up. All those things really support me, so if you're willing to do that, I'd appreciate it. That's really all I have for you today, but thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.